And I understand that a few years ago, you have a dear friend who started an organization called the Wheelchair Foundation. And can you share a little bit about your involvement with that? And I believe there's a story involved where you were able to deliver.
Oh, lots of stories. I've been on many wheelchair distributions. Ken Behring in Black Hawk created the Wheelchair Foundation. He has a big plane, and he often flies things that are needed in some community around the world to help out in a humanitarian way. And as he tells the story, he was asked to go to Salt Lake City to pick up some foodstuffs from the LDS humanitarian arm and take them to Eastern Europe. And as they were doing that, there were some used wheelchairs being loaded on the plane. And they got to, I think it was Serbia, and he saw these people lined up who needed a wheelchair who didn't have one. And he called his friend, as I understand the story, from Kofi Annan, the General Secretary of the United Nations, and said, how many people in the world need a wheelchair that can't afford one? And the response came back, probably 150 million or 300 million, it was some such number. And Ken Behring, in his usual optimistic way, said, well, I can do that. He had the funds, the resources to do it. What he didn't have was the manpower. So he came to us at Rotary, to my predecessor, Frank Devlin from Mexico City, and to me, and asked if Rotary would partner with him, and we agreed that we would. And Rotarians have been on wheelchair distributions all over the world. And now we've distributed more than 1 million wheelchairs across the globe. It's quite an experience. And every time I've picked somebody up and put them in a wheelchair, I'm reminded that it's a blessing to have legs that work and arms that work and a body that functions. And as usual, the service has done more for me than it has done for the people we put in the wheelchair. The story you made reference to was one in Shanghai. I remember another one in New Jersey, in our own country, where we took a little girl, 6 years of age, born with spina bifida, from her father's arms and put her in a new red wheelchair. And I was supposed to give a speech. And this girl started to wheel herself in a wheelchair up and down the center aisle in the room. There were about 400 people in the room, 200 on this side, 200 over here on this side. And she was oblivious to the fact that almost every eye in the room was looking at her. And she began to wheel herself up and down the center aisle, having the time of her life. I put my speech back in my pocket because I thought nobody needs the speech now. The speech is right there in front of us. When it was all done, her father, a short Mexican man with tears streaming down his cheeks, came up to me and he said, Mr. King, thank you for this gift. Every time I carried her into a school playground, my heart broke because I knew that she couldn't understand why she couldn't get down and play soccer or kick the ball or run the way her 2 little brothers did, who were there that day also with their mother and father. And so now she will be able to get down in her wheelchair and kick the ball and play with them. So you've given a gift to not only my little girl, but to me, to her mother, and to her brothers. So we thank you. And I said, don't thank me. I have 2 artificial hips in me and an artificial knee. I've applied for an artificial brain, but I don't need a wheelchair. At least I've never needed a wheelchair. So I said to this young father, I don't need a wheelchair, so I really don't understand the gift we gave to your little girl today. But I will always remember the gift she gave to me. And the reason I do what I do in Rotary is because I'm selfish. I always get more than the person we're helping.